What's up, everybody? Welcome back to The Pulse. Today, we dive into a powerful question. What's really happening with autism advocacy and awareness? SF sounds the alarm on the rising number of advocacy groups shutting down, a trend we can't ignore. But it's not all doom and gloom. Terri brings a wave of inspiration, highlighting incredible advocacy efforts she's witnessing firsthand and sharing how she's making a difference in her own life and work. Tune in for a raw, honest conversation that uncovers both the challenges and the hope in the autism advocacy world.
Okay, so the next question is for Terri and myself. Terri, do you want me to go first, or do you want to answer this one first? It's about
Go ahead.
advocacy. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
The question is, how do you feel about autism advocacy and awareness efforts? So, for me, I feel like autism advocacy is in a precarious place. Many groups have been shutting their doors or downsizing or shifting focus, and that threatens to leave a significant gap in support and resources. So for me, I'm a little bit concerned to see so many groups shutting their doors currently. Over the past decade, they've not only scaled back their organizations, but a lot of them have had funding taken from them, and organizational leadership changes where maybe they had leadership that was neurodiverse and then it got swapped out. So for a variety of reasons, a lot of these agencies and groups have been closing down, and that's been a little bit troubling. But I want to specifically mention 4 of them. 3 in Canada and 1, I think actually 2 in Canada, 2 in the States. Anyway, so a couple of examples. Autism Society Canada. These guys were one of the largest organizations in Canada for autism advocacy, but financial difficulties led to them shutting their doors in 2017. Autism Speaks Canada, while not entirely shut down, they reduced their operations, downsized their staff, and they've shifted their focus away from advocacy towards research and fundraising. But what are they researching? That is obviously one of our bigger questions with advocacy groups, is we all have something to say about Autism Speaks. So them shutting their doors maybe, or downsizing maybe, wasn't the worst news we all ever heard, but that they're still operating and we haven't heard from them is troubling. The Autism National Committee, or AUTCOM, is another group that was known for advocating for the rights and dignity of autistic people. The group has become less active in recent years with fewer public initiatives focusing on advocacy. So when we were once seeing them be very, very involved and doing a lot of different things, now we almost never hear from them at all. And finally, I want to mention GRASP, which is the Global Regional Asperger Syndrome Partnership. It was a group focused on providing support and advocacy for autistic adults. They closed down in the mid-2010s because of leadership and financial challenges. Things sort of started changing for them, and they had a reduced public awareness, and they declined in their activities and just sort of petered off. So, it's a trend that's been happening. It is alarming. Where are these groups going? Where are these people going that were part of these groups? The closures and reductions in activity reflect broader challenges faced by our community, including securing funding, maintaining public engagement, and adapting to changing needs and perspectives. And we know that our particular community, there needs to be a lot of adapting to the many, many constant changes in our perspectives and needs. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I'm a little bit saddened by the disappearing groups. What are your thoughts, Terri?
That's definitely a big concern. I think part of the reason Autism Speaks stepped away from the advocacy part is because they were being compared to Autism Speaks in the US, and everybody thought they were an offshoot and they were doing the same things that were going on. And so I think strictly for self-preservation, they stepped away from the advocacy, because even today you say Autism Speaks Canada and there's this like, no, we will not
Yep.
deal with them. Like I personally had an issue when I was well, I still am an editor for the Canadian Journal of Autism Equity. And I had edited a paper, and it went into the, it went into the magazine that we were putting out. And I had somebody just basically rip me right up one side and down the other because I was supporting Autism Speaks Canada when the article had absolutely nothing to do about it, but they took one sentence and completely misconstrued it. So I can see why in some ways Autism Speaks would step away. But it's, I work with some organizations who are doing fantastic things in terms of advocacy and awareness. Like I look at things like Autism Edmonton and how much stuff that they are doing, how much they get out into the community. Mike Lake, one of the MPs, is from here in Edmonton, and he represents one of the ridings in Edmonton. And, I look at organizations like Lions Club International, and I'm kind of moving up the ladder in terms of the hierarchy of what I want to be doing. And I'm very open about my autism, and I think my aunt is seriously hoping that one day I will be the first openly autistic, female district governor for the northern half of the province. And so getting into organizations like that and talking about it and making them more aware makes them start to become more accepting. And the group that I work with is very accepting because we're an autistic club. Mm-hmm. And I happen to be president of that club. And our members, with the exception, I think, of 2 or 3, are all on the spectrum, which is fantastic. And we're going to try and make that club grow here in Edmonton. We are the second one in Canada. The first one is in Montreal, and we are one of 5 in the world.
Wow.
So there's not a lot of autistic clubs, but we are doing our best to get out there, to make people aware, to help them accept, this is who we are. We have our quirks. So do you. Ours just happen to be more than the average bear. And with my own company, that's what I do. I go out and I talk about it. And it's like, first thing I want is, the awareness, the understanding, and then the acceptance. So I can talk to you for 3 hours, but at the end of it, that's what I want from you, is that acceptance and realization that, sure, I'm a bit different from you, and I I come up with different ideas than you do, but it doesn't mean that you or I is any better than the other. So I'm doing my own thing to help bring that awareness and acceptance of our community. Because just if I don't speak up and I'm one of those members of that community, I'm doing a disservice to our community.
I love that. Thank you, Terri.
You're welcome.
That does it for this episode of The Pulse. As always, if you have topics for discussion, or if you'd like to be a guest on the show, send an email to voa@pacificautismfamily.com. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We'll see you next time.